Miss Papa, trust in judiciary in the country is at very low level. Citizens ask for justice. They are very disappointed in the system. Do reforms in the judiciary start from the Judicial Council? What experiences are there in the region?
So, hello, Neda. It is a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for a very interesting question. The trust in judiciary, but also in the political system, I know that has been evaluated as low. What is this? Doesn't happen. This didn't happen only in North Macedonia. It seems like it's a broader issue in the Western Balkans. A lot of countries in the region are facing the same challenges with the trust in public institutions in generally at a low level. I think that if the trust is low, there is a moment that public institutions, including judiciary, need to stop, sit down and think about why the trust is low, how we can improve it, what measures can we take to improve citizen lives. At the very end, justice services are public services. So it's very important to think that when we provide justice, when we deliver a decision, this is a public service to the citizens of North Macedonia or in another Western Balkans country. Indeed, in the region, there have been a lot of reforms, and the reforms vary. However, what is important to take out from all these reforms is the fact that while they are focused on the judiciary, they are focused with a special focus on increasing independence and also integrity of the system. So all the reforms need to be there in order to reflect that need for greater independence, for more integrity, in order to improve the trust of the citizens. I will mention certain reforms as I have been working in the Western Balkans in several countries. So I will mention the reform which took place in Albania in 2016. The reform, very much known by the general public as the vetting reform. However, that reform was not only focused on the vetting of judges and prosecutors or legal practitioners. It was also focused on changing the architecture of independent justice institutions. So what happened is we established a high judicial council with more extensive functions and powers, more independent. The composition of the High Judicial Council changed, and the Minister of Justice and the Head of State were, let's say, extracted from its composition in order to make this body more less influenced by the politics. What happened as well in Albania is a new body was created, that of the High Prosecutorial Council, which did not exist before. Another institution, independent institution, was created, that of the High Inspector of Justice, which is dealing with the investigation of disciplinary infringements. All this coupled with the vetting, but also with an increase of salaries for judges and prosecutors. So after the justice reform and after the vetting, judges could have the double or the triple of their salaries before. All these different measures took place in order to create a judicial system that is more independent, has the adequate human and financial resources, and become more efficient. I'll take the example of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Recently, they also adopted a new reform with focus on integrity. So what happened in Bosnia and Herzegovina last year? The law on High Judicial and Prosecutorial Council was amended, and a new department was created in order to conduct declaration and verification of assets. this department is to be established or created inside the High Judicial Prosecutorial Council. So now all candidates, judges, and prosecutors who would like to enter in the system will be somehow, let's say, verified if they have legitimate assets. If the judges and prosecutors in the system want to be promoted, they will also undergo this verification of assets. So there are different systems, and what I believe it is important for North Macedonia is to find inspiration from these different practices in the region. For me, reforms in the judiciary, but also in other branches, need to be thought with what is the aim and what we want to achieve. Reforms are not quick fixes. It will take some time. And we need to communicate with citizens that if we'll do that reform, it will take that amount of time until we see results. We don't see results with reform immediately. So the public needs to be informed about, with sincerity, about what's going to happen, how much time, and what are the expected results. I believe that reforms need to be country-specific. So something that works for North Macedonia and not for, let's say, Serbia, Bosnia, Albania, and so on. So this is my opinion for this question, and please do not hesitate to ask me something that may speed me.
Concerning the new enlargement methodology, progress in Cluster 1, Rule of Law and Fundamentals, will set the pace of the negotiation in all of chapters. The Criminal Code adopted in 2023 was criticized by the EU, noting that certain legislative changes would impact a lot of high-level corruption cases. How do you assess the state of play in the judiciary in North Macedonia?
I know the concerns that have been in relation to the amendments of the Criminal Code. They were related to the reduction of the sanctions of some criminal offenses. The impact and the concern is that from the moment that you reduce sanctions, you reduce the status of limitation, which is directly related to the investigation that the prosecution does, or the investigative body. So it means that the prosecution will have less time to investigate a corruption offense or an offense related to financial and economic crime. We all know that it's difficult to investigate this kind of offenses. It takes time. You need specialized human resources to be used. And by decreasing that amount of time, of course, it jeopardizes the quality of work of prosecution offices and the relevant investigators. Now, going back to the evaluation. In a positive way, I should say that North Macedonia has a strategic and a good legal framework. Also, the main institutions in the fight, in the prevention and fight against corruption exist. Now, what we see in North Macedonia, but also a little bit in the region, is that we have very good legislation, but the implementation is still a challenge. The implementation is a challenge, maybe because the human resources are lacking, maybe because this legislation has not been fully endorsed or understood, or maybe because there is some lack in between, lack of will, or I cannot find the proper name for it, but you in the country know it better. So I think the focus should be that of really implement the legislation. I'm not in favor of changing very often the legislation, because changing very often the legislation brings something else, which is it impacts the legal certainty. But I'm in favor of implementing the legislation, discover the gaps and improve them, but not change the legislation without analyzing the impact of its implementation.
You have great experience of the judiciary in the region, and you know the judiciary system in all of the countries of the Western Balkans, especially in Albania. The waiting of judges there started, as you mentioned before, in 2018. How far has the process gone and who is implementing it? What is the number of dismissed judges until now?
Okay, I will have the chance to give you some figures. The vetting was a process that was implemented at two levels. So in the first level, an independent institution was created, which was called the Independent Qualification Committee. And at the second level, another institution was created, which was the Special Appeal Chamber. So it is a system in two layers, and the duty of this institution was to assess the integrity of judges and prosecutors, but also former judges and prosecutor or legal advisors in the system, in relation to three pillars. One was the assets of this category of officials. The second was the background check, and the third was the proficiency. Allow me to say that after 7 years of implementation of the reform, the dismissal of the judges is at the number of 273 judges and 269 judges and prosecutors were dismissed. However, 163 were also exited the system for different reasons, either because they retired or because they resigned or because someone got sick.
Of that number?
No, it's
additional.
And 373 judges and prosecutors were confirmed in duty. So if we consider only the judges who were dismissed by this first level of vetting, we can approximately calculate to 40% of judges. If we include the numbers of those who left the system because of other reasons, we go to 50-55%. And with only 40 to 45% of judges and prosecutors who were confirmed in duty. So you can see the impact that vetting had in the human resources of the system. It was a huge impact, which also needed additional measures taken by the judicial system, either by the High Judicial Council or by the High Prosecutorial Council in cooperation with the School of Magistrate to have new judges and prosecutors in the system. So the vetting had a huge impact in, let's say, the human resources of the system.
The most vocal argument against vetting is the danger of judges shortage in the short term. What is your stance on this?
There is some truth in it. So once the vetting is implemented, the country should be prepared, as it was the case in Albania, of shortage of human resources and the judges for prosecutors in the system, which also be coupled with delays in adjudication of cases, investigation of cases, and so on. What was expected in Albania at the beginning was that 15-20% of judges and prosecutors will get out of the system. It happened that these went out of proportion. in a way. So a lot of mitigating measures need to be adopted, such as a judicial map, where maybe there is need to merge certain courts and or public prosecution offices, but also to be prepared to have new generation of candidates in the system. Also, other means that have or tools that have been implemented are the transfer or the delegation of judges to particular cases in order to create a panel for adjudication. So these are things that need to be very well thought in advance before such a system is implemented. I do believe that the results can be good at the end, but meanwhile the system has to suffer a lot from the shortage of human resources. So I do believe that these type of reforms need to be thought carefully, and in the situation where there is really a systematic problem with corruption and fail of integrity in the country.
The political requirements related to our EU path are clear. Brussels has said that they will help us implementing the reforms, but that we have to use the geopolitical momentum in the enlargement process. Do you think it is realistic to see the Western Balkans country in the EU by 2030? Considering that some countries are more advanced in the negotiations, and having in mind that Albania and North Macedonia decoupled on the path towards EU.
I'm not an expert in EU integration. However, this is, and I will just tell my humble
According to your opinion
on that matter. So indeed, we hear in the agenda that the Western Balkans, or at least some countries of the Western Balkan, are in the agenda of accession to European Union in 2030. I believe that it is an ambitious project. However, it does not mean that it is out of reach for the countries. It is important to be conscious about the fact that several factors are to be taken into consideration. The political will of the countries, the political will of the EU members, of course, the regional cooperation is also important. And what is also the most important is the pace of the reforms. So in the new methodology, great focus has been in the enlargement agenda, has been in rule of law and fundamentals. So everything will depend how much the countries will advance in this agenda. It is, from my perspective, expected that some countries might join EU at 2030, some others a little bit later. Indeed, there is a geopolitical momentum that needs to be used by all the Western Balkan countries, as there is maybe also some will from the EU member states. Let's not forget that the process is demanding, and that EU member states need a consensus about who will enter. I cannot say much about the fact that Albania and North Macedonia have been decoupled. I believe at some point maybe it's better so, because every country will be evaluated based on its merits. Maybe Albania today is a little bit more advanced because they have opened the first cluster. That does not mean that in 6 months North Macedonia can reach that stage and even advance. So everything depends on the will of the North Macedonia public institutions, on the political class, and the desire to advance in this agenda of rule of law and fundamentals.
Miss Papa, thank you for the interview for Media Information Agency.
Thank you so much. And I was very glad to be here.